every year it's really fun to watch the quarterback cycle fall, and now that Jared Curtis is recommitted to Georgia, there's going to be a whole lot more dominoes falling, and this seems to be the next biggest immediate impact now that Oregon is out on Curtis. They're now trying to flip Ryder Lyons from USC. Bit of an easier task this time around. Curtis is going to be really tough just in terms of the distance. This kid's a bit closer, but as of right now, he's committed to USC, so we're going to be watching Ryder Lyons as a USC commit, and we're just going to evaluate the player, not really care about all that other stuff. 2026 quarterback, but if my information's correct, this kid's actually not going to be on campus until 2027 because of a mission trip. Kind of an interesting situation. Yeah, you'd rather have the kid be on campus, in red shirt and learn the playbook and all that, but at the same time, you're going to be getting a more mature quarterback when he starts his eligibility clock. So kind of an interesting situation. Like I said, 6'2.5" from Folsom, California, and that's about all we can do before we get started. So let's get started. Just wanted to watch that throw one more time on the left sideline there. I mean, this travels what? He's at the 30-yard line. That's a 40-yard throw right there from a junior in high school. It was a pretty good throw. Smaller frame, hell of an athlete. The kid's a very good athlete. When we say these quarterbacks are good athletes, sometimes that just means pure play extension. But I think early on, this kid's is a run threat. There's a difference between a lot of these quarterbacks' athleticism is just being, purely able to extend the play and all that. But in terms of NFL draft prospects, you remember Caleb Williams coming out. Hell of an athlete, play extension, but not really a guy that you have to game plan and read options and all that. If you're the defensive coordinator, that is. This kid has some wiggle to him, as a runner, and I think he's got a good arm also. And that's pretty much all you're ever going to hear me say about a high school quarterback is how good their arm is and how athletic are they. Yo, back shoulder. Wow. I try not to get too far into the technicalities of quarterbacking just because there's so much that goes into it. Same way I don't know shit about cars. I don't try to tell my auto mechanics. Probably why I get taken to the wheelhouse every time I get an oil change. But I don't even know the point I was trying to make. This kid's a good athlete, has a good arm. The rest of it's kind of stuff that we can't pick up on film, right? How the kid takes coaching. I don't know enough about throwing motions and all that to really say that much. So you guys can tell me what you think about the throwing motions. But good athlete for sure. This is what I'm talking about. I know I wasn't really articulating the point before well, but there's two kinds of athleticism. There's the athleticism of running in a straight line, and then there's actually understanding the intricacies of trying to make a person miss. And just kind of watch this hezzy right here and how he hit that hole. That almost looks like a running back. Like, that's how you teach it. I don't even think that was a design run. I'm going to watch it one more time. Yeah, it was. Sorry, that's my bad. But he did a good job. A lot of quarterbacks, they don't do this in practice. A lot of high school running backs don't do this, and they do this in practice. They'll just try to bend this outside. They'll just try to outrun people instead. It's simple math. Running in a straight line on a football field is how you gain the most yards. You only have to run 1 yard to gain 1 yard. When you start running diagonal, you have to run like 3-4 yards to gain a yard. Sometimes it makes sense if you're trying to get an angle on someone, but 9 times out of 10, you just got to tell it, especially in high school, just put your friggin' foot in the ground and go forward. And you did a good job doing that here. And like I said, really explosive athlete. With a good arm, it's easy to see why a school like Oregon's taking this kid serious. The arm talent's not quite like Jared Curtis, but at the same time, like, I think this kid's definitely a better athlete in my opinion. I think you're dealing with a lower floor with this kid. A lot of people talk about high floor with athleticism, but to me, low floor with athleticism, but this kid's not just pure arm talent the way Jared Curtis kind of is. I think Curtis is more of a project than people are willing to admit. So first, we're going to give him a 3 on the frame. He's listed at 6'2.5", which is actually a pretty good size. I'll actually give him a 4. This is a 6-point scale. Dylan Gabriel is 5'11", had a very good season. It's not really that big of a deal. I give it a 20% weight, but it really shouldn't be that much. I'm going to give him a 5 on the arm accuracy, 6 on the athleticism. I think the pocket presence, I'm going to actually change to more of like a creativity type thing, but we'll give him a 6 on that. And then, 5 on the throwing motion. Like I said, I'm more of an athletic evaluator. Like, a lot of people think high school evaluations pure football, but it really isn't. It's more athletic and personality evaluation, and then you project how that plays into your defense or your offense, depending what position the kid is. So, like, you won't hear me on here be talking about a whole lot of technique, and that's not necessarily because I don't know it. I know a bit, but like not a whole lot. But the one thing I'll try to do is try to understand this kid as an athlete, and it's a bit different for quarterback just because the game planning stuff means a lot more. Anyways, thanks for watching. You guys let me know what you think about this kid's good football player.